Hi friends, thanks for clicking on my video. And today I will be reviewing the reality show The Traitors USA. Season 4 just premiered on January 8th and they dropped 3 episodes. And I think it's starting off pretty good. I did watch season 2 and season 3 of Traitors and I liked it. I think the concept is really cool. What I remember from season 2, I remember Danielle from Big Brother. I remember Boston Rob, and there was like a lot of drama and backstabbing and backbiting that season. On season 3, we've had the illustrious Phaedra from Real Housewives Atlanta, and she basically was the main character. She was the show. Um, but yeah, I remember the last 2 seasons being very entertaining with all the back talking and the reads and all of that. So hopefully this season lives up to the previous 2 seasons. And I will be recapping every episode. So let's get into it. So it starts off basically introducing the cast. So the show starts off with 23 cast members. I'm going to list them off. First, and I'm listing them off based on the people that I saw, like in the order that they were introduced. So first was Lisa Renna. You know her. She was an actress. I think she was popular in the 90s, and she was also on one of the Real Housewives. Now, I don't watch all of the Real Housewives franchises, so I think she was from Beverly Hills, but I'm not sure. But like you know her from like the red carpets, and I remember she had infomercials back in the day, I think. Then the next person is Donna Kelsey, and my first thought is, why is she there? Why is she there? She is not a reality star. She's not a former actress. She's not an entertainer. Why is she there? I don't know. It just didn't feel right that she was there. Um, Johnny Weir, he's a figure skater. Portia Williams, Real Housewives of Atlanta. Stephen Coletti, he was an actor on One Tree Hill. Rob C., he won Survivor. Tara Lipinski, a figure skater. Ron Funches, a comedian. Caroline Stanberry, a real housewife. Maura Higgins from Love Island. Mark Ballas, I actually don't know where he's from. I forget. Colton Underwood, a former football player. Ian Terry, one Big Brother. Dorinda Medley, another housewife. Candace Dillard, Real Housewives of Potomac. um, Natalie Anderson from Survivor, I believe. Eric Nam, he's a singer songwriter. Yam Yam, he won Survivor. Rob R from Love Island Season 6 USA. Michael Rappaport. Oh, Lord. So they got this messy queen, Michael Rappaport, in here. I just know him from going viral, from being in people's business. He's already an annoying person. As soon as I saw that he was there, I was already annoyed. One of the cast members said, you know, one of the cast members was like, "Does he always smile like that?" I have that written down. So already being annoying from just the introduction. But he also says that he's a big Housewives fan. I think I did see him on Watch What Happens Live with Andy Cohen at one point. Mike, he's just a troll. And okay, who else? Monet from RuPaul's Drag Race. Kristen Kish, she's a chef. Tiffany Mitchell from Big Brother. Okay, so yeah, so that's all the castmates entering. And then so all of them, they're coming in the SUVs, they're pulling up to the mansion. When they get to the mansion, they see like this kind of big fire show. Everyone's like excited for the fire show. To me, it didn't really look that impressive on TV, but it might have looked impressive in person. And then my first thought, like this is like the first 5 minutes of the show, I'm like, oh yeah, Mama Kelsey has to be the traitor, because why is she there? She's like literally, out of all the people I named, she stands out. Like, she's not an entertainer. So why is this mother of an entertainer, or a mother of an athlete, really? A mother of an athlete, why is she there when nobody else is just a random mother of an athlete? I just found it to be so gimmicky, and that she's like a plant. Basically, it was just so obvious that she's a plant, and that she's probably a secret traitor. um so once they first get to the mansion, they go right into a ceremony where they find out who's gonna be one of the traders. So everybody has to like stand. All of them are like standing in a line, and then the host calls them down to like the fire pit, and then he shows them like a card, and it will tell them whether they're like a traitor or a faithful. So nobody knows who the traitor is, but one person in that ceremony was a traitor, and everyone was trying to look at everyone's faces and their reactions to see who's a traitor, but you can't really tell. So that was the first entry into the castle. And then they go on their first mission. And their first mission, they pull up to this like lake, and it was like a beautiful scenery. I believe there's somewhere like in Scotland, and very like green landscape with this beautiful big lake. But then when they're pulling up to the lake, there's like all these coffins. It was 100 coffins floating in the water, which was creepy. But the show is about death in a way. So the show's concept is kind of dark. Um, and basically, they're eliminating people. They use the M word on the show, or the K word, but um, all right, so where so yeah, so they pull up, all these coffins are floating in the water. They find out what they have to do with the in the mission. The coffins, some of them have X's on them and some of them have dollar signs on them. So they're split up into three teams. There's a white team, a red team, and a green team, I think. And then basically they get in a boat, in a canoe. They get into a canoe, and then they have to hook up the coffins that have the dollar sign on them, hook them up onto the boat, and then they have to bring them to the shore, and then carry the coffin to the grave site, and then dump the coffin into somebody's into somebody's grave. So each grave had like a cast member's name on it. So they had to like pick and choose like whose grave they were going to dump a casket into, and then whoever had a casket in their grave was up for elimination. And so just watching the competition, I think Rob did a good job leading his team. He was the leader of the red team, and he was like leading everyone like on how to like row the canoe and stuff. And he was like, the one leading the instructions. And he did a really good job. He gives like really good, clear instruction. So his team was like moving like a machine, well-oiled machine. So the red team had the strategy of just putting the coffin in whoever's name was like closer. So they were doing like a really good job with that. And then the green team was like right behind them. And then the green team and the red team like got back to the grave sites like at the same time. And they agreed that they would just like not put coffins in each other's graves. Um, and then the white team was trailing behind. I think the leader of the green team was Stephen Coletti, the actor. And then the leader of the white team, I don't remember. I think it was Candace and Michael. Either Candace or Michael. I don't really remember who's the leader of the white team, but I remember that they were on the same team. They were both on the white team, I think. So we're getting towards the end of the competition, and time is running out. It's like counting down. And then the last team to try to put like the last coffin into a grave was the white team. And Michael was kind of like leading the team as to where to put the coffin. And he said, oh, put it in Portia's. Um, and then they tried to put it in Portia's, but time ran out, and it didn't count. So then the other teams, they come back to the land to see like where are all the coffins like laid. And then Portia saw that they tried to put the coffin in her thing, and she had like a little, she showed that she was like a little upset about that. I was like, okay, that's gonna turn into a thing. But at the end of that competition, the castmates that had the coffins in their grave were Ian from Big Brother, Eric, the singer songwriter, and Mark and Rob R from Love Island, they were all four of them were up for elimination. So then they go back into the house and then they start talking about the day. And at this point, I'm feeling like the show is a little boring because I'm not seeing anyone that really has kind of like that, how do I explain it? Like that feisty personality. Like no one's really being feisty yet. No one's really being sassy. I'm like, where's the shade throwing? Where's the insults, you know? Like I haven't really seen that yet. So I'm out with the first episode. I'm not gonna lie, I felt like it was missing something. And Portia, she did try her best to stir up some drama for the camera. So back at the house, everyone's like recapping the game, and Candace and Portia and somebody else, they were sitting in like the, what do they call it, like the parlor, and they were just talking about the game. And then Portia brings up like, whose idea was to try to put the coffin in my grave? And then Candace said, oh, it was Michael's been going after the housewives and stuff. So Portia tries to confront Michael. Michael says no, he never said that he was coming after housewives. And then so Portia and Michael go into the kitchen where everybody is, and then Candace is sitting there. And I guess Portia was trying to get to the bottom of the story, like, is Michael coming after housewives or not? And then Michael says to Candace that, hey, I never said to put it in Portia's thing, in Portia's grave. And Candace was saying like, oh no, I didn't mean he said it today. I meant to he said it like yesterday in the car. So it was just like so confusing. So I had to go back and watch the episode. And what happened was it was Mike who said that. So Candace was not lying. So during the game, during the actual game, it was Michael who said put it in Portia's. But at that moment, it was kind of like a last minute thing. It wasn't like a strategy thing. Like the time was like clicking down the clock. The time was counting down, and they were kind of like they were panicking a little bit, and they were like, just put it in Portia's because Portia's was the closest grave. So that's why they tried to put it in Portia's. It wasn't because he didn't say let's go after housewives during the game. He didn't say that. He just said put it in Portia's because it's the closest one. Basically, that's what he said. So technically, he did say that during the game. But then in the kitchen, Candace, Candace, I don't know if she lied and said, "Oh, I didn't mean during the game." I mean, but to be fair, he did say on when they first entered in the cast, he was talking to Tiffany and somebody else. He was talking about gameplay, and he was saying that, hey, the gamers and the housewives have the majority, so the one of the traders has to obviously either be a gamer or a housewife. Basically, he was putting a target on housewives' back, but not just housewives and gamers. He technically was putting targets on their back starting on day one. So Candace wasn't wrong, but I think she just confused the order of what was said. It was like basically it was two conversations in one, and then that's what she reported to Portia. And then just a tiny correction. It's not significant, but the conversation between Candace and Portia actually happened on the drive home from the mission. So it was Portia and Mora in the back seat, and then Candace was in the front seat. And that's when Portia asked whose idea was it to put the coffin in my grave. And that's when Candace had said that. And then during the disagreement in the kitchen, Portia asked Mora, don't you remember Candace say that? Didn't Candace say that Mike is coming after housewives? And then Mora says she doesn't remember, and Mora genuinely doesn't remember. She said that she has a short memory, and she doesn't actually remember what was said in the car because I feel like this group of people, they're people who just like yap so much. Like they just be saying anything. Like, so I feel like not everyone is going to remember every single conversation because sometimes it's really just like chatter. You know what I mean? So by the so by the end of the disagreement in the kitchen, like everyone's like confused and they kind of just like disperse, and that was kind of like the end of the disagreement. Like Portia was just like, okay, I guess I got some answers, but not really, and then everyone kind of just dispersed. Okay, and then also in the first episode, I almost forgot. There was a round table ceremony where everyone was blindfolded, and then the host goes around to pick who the three traitors are going to be. And so the first ceremony, when they first got into the castle, one traitor was picked. No one knows who that traitor is. And then in that same later in that same episode, they had that round table uh exercise where three traitors were picked during that ceremony. But again, no one knows who those traitors are either. So now we're getting towards the end of the first episode, and everyone goes up to bed, and then we as the viewers, we find out who the three traitors who were picked um during that round table. And the three traitors meet in the dungeon, and they are Lisa Renna, Rob Rosh, and Candace are the three traitors, and I'm loving it. And then they find out that they are not going to know who the fourth traitor is, that the fourth traitor is a secret traitor, and that the secret traitor controls who's up for elimination. The M word is what they use on the show. And then from whoever the secret traitor picks, then they pick the one person who actually gets M worded each night. So I really like it. Even just like starting off, it just seemed like the three of them already have like really good chemistry, and they're really excited to collaborate and work together as a team. Next, they receive a list from the secret trader of who's up for elimination. And the names on the list are Ian from Big Brother, Eric, the singer songwriter, Mark, and Rob R. And then the three of them have to decide like who they're actually going to eliminate. Obviously, Rob is not going to eliminate himself. And then they just like do like, they have like conversation to decide who's going to be up for elimination. And in that moment, I felt like Rob was growing on me, just seeing his interaction with the ladies. It was like really endearing, and I like the way that he thinks, and how he assesses the other castmates. And he seems to be very calculated and smart, and he wants to go after other very smart people, and which is kind of like how I would play the game. He's trying to take out the strongest and smartest people in the game. And then we close episode 2, so we don't find out who's eliminated until the next episode, which starts with the breakfast scene. So the breakfast scene is when everyone comes downstairs in batches, and then they come through the door in batches. So like the first group that'll come through the door, they'll just be happy that they're there. And then they see like a nice spread on the table for breakfast, and then the next batch will there'll be a knock on the door, and the next batch comes in, and then everyone is like, surprise, oh, who's here, who's not here, blah blah blah. So then that keeps happening. There's always a bang on the door, and then the next group comes in, and everyone greets each other and is just saying, we're happy we're still here, blah, 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 until the very end. And then the last batch will come in, and that's when you find out who's eliminated. Everyone's like, oh, so and so is not here. We're so sad. So at the breakfast, they're chit chatting, waiting for all the other castmates to come downstairs. And then someone brings up the disagreement in the kitchen between Portia, Candace, and Michael. And then Portia's like, huh? What are you talking about? And someone had to explain to her what they were talking about, and she was like, "Oh, I didn't even remember that conversation. That's light work. I don't even remember that." And I'm like, "Really, Portia?" But like, it makes sense. Like, I mean, she's been on reality shows for over a decade with like Nene Leakes and Phaedra Parks, like heavy hitters who know how to read people for filth. And that was that little disagreement or whatever with, with Candace and Michael. I just felt like that was like a whole nothing burger. Like that was nothing came out of it. I feel like that was just a way for Portia to try to, kind of insert some drama into the show, because I feel like the first episode was lacking in conflict. So she was just trying to stir up some conflict. She was just in her Real Housewife of Atlanta bag, just trying to stir things up a little bit and get a little bit of camera time. But yeah, it wasn't it that disagreement was a nothing burger. She went to bed, woke up the next day, and forgot all about it. So then we find out who was eliminated from the show, and we find out that Ian from Big Brother was eliminated. And I was very happy about that. The Traitors made the right choice. I mean, he literally won Big Brother. Like, who wouldn't go after him? I would be going after anyone. I would go after first. I'd go after anyone who won Big Brother or won Survivor, and then literally anyone else who was on Big Brother and Survivor. I would definitely be going after all the gamers if I was on the show. And then Tiffany was also on Big Brother, and she was being a little extra. Like she did like this whole little speech about like, Ian, he's like a really nice person, and he overcame his fears to come here. And she was being like so serious, like the man actually died. Like, ma'am, it's just a show. And like, what do you mean that he overcame his fears to come here? Like, he's already been on a reality show before and won. I don't know. It was just like weird. Like she gave like this little sob speech about Ian being gone. I'm like, that's what we came here for. Every episode, someone's gonna leave. Like, and I do think other people were looking at her like a little bit crazy. Um, so now after breakfast, everyone starts talking game, trying to figure out who the traitor is, who took out Ian, and so names are getting thrown around, and the house is starting to suspect Donna Kelsey, because I feel like it's such an obvious choice. Like if I can see it, I'm sure the people um, on the show could see it, and they were saying that she's been quiet and she hasn't really been talking game. She hasn't been throwing any names out there of who she thinks is a traitor. And yeah, it's just so obvious that Donna Kelsey being there is such a marketing gimmick, um, because of the whole Travis and Taylor um, thing, and I guess her being close with Taylor at the football games and stuff. It's like a whole like gimmick. Um, and then some other people that are being suspected is actually Portia, because Portia was like sitting with a group of people, including Ron, and she was basically just talking, trying to figure out like who the traitor is. And we know she's not the most eloquent speaker, so she had some verbal slip ups. And yeah, and yeah, like that should be expected. Like I guess like some of these people, they don't know each other that well. But yeah, Portia doesn't always say the right thing, or she mixes up her words a lot. Like famously, about the Underground Railroad, thinking it was like a real train. Like that's what she's like known for. She's like way too unserious to be a traitor. Um, so now her name's being thrown around. Um, then Rob from Love Island, he's having a conversation saying he doesn't trust Michael Rappaport, and he calls him shifty. I'm like, yes, Rob, Michael is a shifty bitch. Like I knew I liked you, Rob. Like I knew me and Rob is on the same page about who are not feeling like that. And okay, so After breakfast and after all the chit chat about who's a traitor, who's not a traitor, Donna and Portia seem to be suspects for the majority of the people in the house. And also Michael Rappaport is starting to become a suspect. Next, it's time for the challenge. So they go into the woods and they see these thrones with wheels on them that have to be pushed. So then someone has to sit on the throne while others have to push the throne like through this, like through the woods. And then in the woods they're looking for money, and they're also looking for uh shields. And the shields, will protect the individual person from being eliminated. So they start the challenge with the smallest women. It's like three thrones, and the three smallest women are sitting on the throne, and then the rest of the cast is pushing them. And then they'll stop at different checkpoints to look for money to put into the pot, or to put it, or to look for shields to protect themselves. So as the competition goes on, as people find shields, they want to protect themselves from being eliminated, right? So in the beginning, the men were being chivalrous and letting the women all have the throne in the beginning, because and also it's easier to carry them, right? Throughout the challenge. But then when we start getting to the end of the competition, then people become more strategic. So basically, whoever has a shield towards the end of the challenge, they have more of the power because they can replace someone who already has a shield or who's already on the throne. So once someone finds a shield, they can go to the throne and put it in a different put it in the slot, and then dethrone whoever was sitting on that throne. And then that the person who's sitting at the end of the person who's sitting on the throne at the end of the challenge has immunity from being eliminated, essentially. So that caused a little bit of drama, because essentially the women kind of got played, because by the end it was men who were sitting on the throne who had shields of protection from being eliminated. So I know, like, Mora was very upset about that. She was trying to argue with Jam Jam, who's from Survivor. He actually took her place. And then Michael Rappaport, he was starting drama about that because he wanted safety because he knew he was a suspect. And he felt like instead of someone just grabbing a shield and just grabbing the throne, that they should, as a group, debate who should get the shield or who should get the throne. But that's not how it happened. So Michael, he kind of carried that as this whole big thing throughout the episode. So after the challenge, they after the challenge they go back to the castle and they start talking game, and then they have a round table where everyone everyone has to, at the round table, everyone has to talk about who they think is a traitor, and they all have to vote. Each individually, everyone votes for who they think is a traitor, and whoever has the most votes gets eliminated. So I think it was Natalie from Survivor opened the conversation about Donna, and she basically says that Donna doesn't talk game, which makes her suspicious. And then she also said that Donna seems less friendly from when they first entered the castle, and she has a more stressed out type of demeanor to her. And yeah, a lot, they discussed that. And then after that, Ron opens up a conversation saying that someone on the show has had some verbal slip ups, and that someone said that they were the ones who took out Ian. And then everyone is like, who said that? Who said that? And that's funny. Like, now this is a full circle moment, because who said that is one of Portia's biggest lines. But, everyone is saying to Ron, like, who said that? And then he goes, Portia. And then Portia goes, me? And obviously, Portia just be saying anything out of her mouth. So she has no clue what Ron is talking about. And then But she does have some self-awareness. She does say that, yes, it makes sense that I probably slipped up, but it didn't mean anything, and I'm not a traitor. And she tries her best to convince people that she's not a traitor, and that, it's just a slip up. And she admits that she doesn't always say things the right way, and that she was really just trying to figure out who the traitor was. um, and then after that, Candace tries to redirect and comes for Donna. And then Donna came for Candace, saying that, because Candace said to Donna, like, you would make a really good traitor because you have like this very sweet, unassuming personality, and that makes the perfect traitor because no one would immediately think that you're a traitor. And then Donna said to responds to Candace and says, well, you could be a traitor because you're very like well put together and outspoken. I don't know if she said outspoken or well spoken, because well spoken is feeling a little microaggressive. Or or that she's well put together. How does being well put together make you a traitor? Like, she didn't say anything about Candace's personality or anything that Candace may have did or said. She just went back at Candace and said, "You're probably a traitor because you're well put together and well spoken." What? Like what? What? That felt like a microaggression to me. I feel like Donna is a little bit jealous of Candace, and just like her future daughter-in-law has feels a little something about well dressed baddie black woman, because Donna basically said, "You're a baddie." Donna said, because Taylor has that song, like, "I'm not a bad bitch, I'm not a savage, but basically I got the man." That's basically what the song says. And then Donna gonna tell Candace, "Well, you're well dressed and well spoken, so you could be a traitor." Like, what? What? That's that. I'm calling that a microaggression, because what the hell? At least give an actual reason why she could be a traitor, not just because she's calling you a traitor. And then instead of actually coming up with the reason, you basically say that she could be a traitor because of something superficial, just because of she's well. I don't know what well spoken and being well put together has to do with being a traitor, but okay. After that, it's time for everyone to vote for who they think is a traitor so they can be eliminated. And then Portia receives the first couple votes. Then there's a vote for Michael. Then Donna receives the next three votes. Michael receives the next two votes. And then it goes back and forth between Donna and Portia, Donna and Portia, Donna and Portia. And at the end of the day, Portia gets the majority of the votes and gets eliminated. And then she has to like stand in front of everyone and say whether she is a traitor or a faithful. And Portia is a faithful, and everyone is disappointed in themselves, and Portia is gone. The first person to be eliminated from the show is Portia. So sad, because she did bring like a lot of good energy to the show. So it'll be interesting to see what the energy is like after she leaves. But she was one of the biggest personalities on the show. And I'm also disappointed that she is the first person to leave, but she did it to herself. She was talking like a lot in the first episode. And she kind of just put her foot in her mouth. And I feel like she still had her Real Housewives brain on, where I think the focus of Real Housewives is being the main character, being the center of attention, getting camera time. And I think on a show like Traitors, when you bring too much attention to yourself, it does make people suspicious that you could be a traitor. So she didn't really do a good job in kind of like balancing out, yes, looking for the traitor. But if you're someone who's kind of like doing too much or going over the top, or always got to be the first person to speak or to say something, it's like, okay, well, are you just deflecting because you're the traitor? It seems like you're doing too much. So yeah, I mean, her own, I think it was her personality and honestly just talking too much, literally just talking too much, is what caused her to be eliminated. And then, so after that, everyone is like sad and disappointed on themselves. Now Ron put a target on his back because, everyone was kind of gunning for Donna before the roundtable, and then he was the one who brought Portia to the group, and then whatever he said convinced everyone that maybe Portia's a traitor, and he was wrong. So now everyone's looking at him funny, like, you went against the group. Everybody was saying Donna, and you convinced us that it was Portia, and we were wrong. Like, so are you and Donna both traitors? Like, trying to steer us away from you two? That's what a lot of people were thinking after the show, because that's what after that episode, because that's what I was thinking. All right, so after the elimination, um, they all are kind of like sitting and talking about what just happened, and Donna is sitting with the group and saying that she feels bad that Portia left, and that she's a fan of everybody here, and she feels like she's not worthy to be here. And she's right, because she's not worthy of being there. She's a DEI hire, because everybody else on that show has proven that they have some type of talent within the entertainment sphere, and she's somebody's mom. That's, yeah. I mean, no disrespect to her personally, but she's just such an outlier on the show. There's nobody else on the show that's just a mom or dad of a celebrity. Like, again, why is she there? She is a DEI hire. And I just feel like Taylor Swift is a very powerful person. And maybe Donna said, I've always wanted to be on a reality show. I always wanted to be on Traitors. And then Taylor Swift like pulls some strings and got her hired at the next reality show that she could. I don't know. It's just freaking weird that she's there. And then, can we stop and have a fashion moment? So Candace was wearing this little red suit mini skirt number, and she just looked so cute in it, and just like the red was so flattering on her, and then her legs with the stocking and her little booty in the mini skirt, she just looked perfect. Body tee, legs tee, fashion tee. I really loved that look. It was like sexy and classy at the same time. And then another fashion look I really liked was from Lisa Rinna. She had this brown baggy suit that I really liked. It's like something I would actually wear. It was just like an oversized brown suit jacket. I think it might have been houndstooth. Is that what it's called? And then brown like baggy pants, and they were kind of like stuffed in these like little like little, she was wearing like these brown heels, like brown pointed boot heels with like, I thought that outfit was slay. I really like that look. I thought both of those were like the best fashions of the episode. Next, our Traitor Trio finds out that they have to do an elimination in plain sight, and they find out that they have to somehow get into behind like one of the art pieces in the kitchen, and then there's like a deck of cards there with everyone's name on it, and then they have to decide on a name from the deck of cards of who's going to be eliminated. Then they have to set that card on fire and throw it into the fireplace, and they have to do that basically while everyone's like out around in the house. So they have to figure out a way to kind of distract people and keep people in another room while they're able to do that. So Candace's distraction is a conga line, which is so random. And I was worried. I felt like that was going to put a target on her back. She literally just randomly started a conga line with no music, just with her going do, 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 do. And it was a little awkward at first because I didn't think anyone was going to join her. At first, her conga line was only like 2 or 3 people, but then everyone started joining in the conga line. I'm like, okay, but that's such a random thing, and I thought that would be like an obvious distraction, but nobody really questioned it. Like nobody questioned about how weird the conga line was. Because I was thinking like maybe a better distraction would be like, I don't know, to start an argument or something, or put a battery in somebody else's back to start an argument. I thought that might have been a better distraction, but her silly conga line actually worked. Um, and then while Candace was distracting everyone with the conga line, Rob, he was the one who was able to go behind the painting, get the get the cards. Then he pulled Lisa Renna to the side so they could play chess. And then while they were playing chess, it looked like they were playing chess, but they were actually like discussing who should be eliminated. And Tara Lipinski was like staring them down. It was so awkward. Like while they were playing chess, she was literally just sitting there and staring at them for like what felt like 15 minutes. I'm like, okay. It was just so awkward. So I don't know. I guess I don't know. I don't know. It didn't seem like she was onto them. It was just like she was staring. I don't know if she was. I don't know if she was onto them, but I don't know. It was creepy. But eventually, she stopped staring at them, and then they went back to what they were talking about. And it was actually Rob's idea to eliminate Rob C. And then he told Lisa about his idea, and then she agreed with him. And um, then, um, then Rob was able to, then everybody started kind of going upstairs for the evening, and Candace was too busy trying to distract people. She didn't even really get to talk to Rob or Lisa to find out who was eliminated. So before everybody goes upstairs, Rob was somehow able to get alone, and he burned the card and threw it in the fireplace, and that was that. And that was the end of the episode. So we as the viewers know Rob C was eliminated, and Ron and Lisa know, and then Candace and everybody else didn't know who was eliminated. So now we're moving on to episode 3. And we go through the same routine. Everybody comes down for breakfast, and that's when people figure out who got eliminated. Also, another fashion moment. Candace has on this light blue Chanel inspired type 2-piece set. It's very similar to the red suit and skirt. And this is another like long sleeve top and skirt set, but in light blue with like black and I think silver like embellishing. I just thought that light blue looked like really pretty on her. But yeah, I'm enjoying her looks. Okay, and then they start showing everyone's conversation around the breakfast table. And this is where I start thinking that maybe Tiffany is a secret traitor, because she was sitting next to Michael and she was talking to Michael and basically throwing salt on Jam Jam's game and feeling the beef with Michael, because Jam Jam and Michael still have a beef from the challenge where Jam Jam got a shield and Michael wanted the shield, and he didn't, and Michael didn't like the way that Jam Jam went about getting the shield, and they still have beef from that. And both of them, Michael and Jam Jam, they both think each other are traitors. And then Tiffany is on the side putting a battery in Michael's back, and then Michael and Jam Jam start arguing at the table. Um, so I got my eye on Tiffany. All right, so then everybody comes downstairs to the breakfast table, and then they find out that Rob C has been eliminated by the traitors. And Rob R is the GOAT for that, because I just feel like Rob R is making all the right moves. And if it was me, I would also eliminate Rob C. And then Rob goes, "Oh, there's only room for one Rob in this castle." I said, "Period." And then I'm also starting to feel like Candace is talking too much, making herself a target. She even led the cheers at breakfast to salute Rob C and his elimination. And I just feel like she's been like leading a lot of the conversations in the house, and she's starting to become like one of the most talkative people in the house. And I think that could make her a target if people start connecting the dots and putting the dots together. about the conga line. So I think she definitely needs to tone it down, especially like this is the very beginning of the show. This is only episode 3. And if you are kind of like standing out so early in the game, like you're making yourself a target, you kind of want to be like somewhere in the middle. Like I feel like Lisa and Rob are like somewhere in the middle. Like you don't want to talk too much and be doing too much, but then you don't want to be someone who's considered mute and quiet and make it seem like you're hiding something. And I think Rob and Lisa have found that good middle ground where they're not in the spotlight, but then their people aren't looking at them because they're being weird and quiet. You know what I mean? So I don't know about Candace. Candace better watch out for herself. Um, okay, so then they find out that they have to do a round table elimination right after breakfast instead of going on a mission like they usually do. And then opens up the conversation, and she comes from Michael saying that he's an agent of chaos, like a traitor would be. And then this starts Michael going on this whole dramatic, uh, I don't know what it is, a rant, this dramatic rant about why he's not a traitor. And then Michael says that he's the best looking faithful. And then why did the camera pan to Rob when Michael said that? Like Michael is a clown. He was just kind of just going off, saying anything. I'm from New York City, blah, 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 blah. Like he just wasn't even making sense. And I'm starting to think that Michael is a producer's pet. Like I don't know if he was hired to actually like play the game or if they specifically hired him to be an agent of chaos on the show because he was just yapping at the table incoherently talking about how good looking he is. And I get that's a joke, but he said it multiple times. I'm like, okay, buddy. It's like he's just saying things for like to get a viral moment. That's what it feels like. I feel like he's just saying stuff to get a viral moment. And reality shows do this nowadays. I think Tiffany New York Pollard, she even admitted that some of the reality shows that she was on, she was basically just hired to act a fool. She wasn't there to actually like play the game and win the game. They hired her specifically to be an agent of chaos, and I think they pay you like a little bit more money than the other people on the show for doing that. So it's definitely given that he's a producer's pet, the way he just be going off. And so everybody at the round table discusses, and then everyone agrees that Donna should be voted out because everyone thinks she's a traitor, and they don't want to make the same mistake last time. A lot of people wanted to vote for Donna the first time, but Ron had to convince them not to vote for her. So now everyone's kind of going back to their original thoughts, and they voted her out. And come to find out, Donna was the secret traitor, y'all. And it was pretty obvious that she was just a gimmick to be there. So, yeah, it made sense that the only person on the show that's not an entertainer is the traitor. So, I'm glad they got her out of that show because honestly, she didn't deserve to be there and she is not entertaining reality TV. Okay. So now after the Donna's elimination, everyone's jumping up and celebrating. Everyone's so happy that they found the first traitor. And then immediately that they're told that they're going to be doing a challenge and then they need to pair up with someone that they trust with their life. And I thought that Michael would be left out based on the way he was just acting. At the table and was so like rambunctious. But Tiffany decided to pair up with Michael, and then Ron was the one that was left out. And we find out that Ron is immediately put up for elimination because he has no partner. And the challenge is that the cage partner is taken to the woods and they're automatically at risk of being eliminated, but the other partner is responsible for playing the game and releasing the partner. and unreleased players will be up for elimination. Okay, so they have to like go into the woods and find like these little like bone heads. I don't know how else to explain it, but they have to find like these bones, and then they have to like stack 10 of the bones like on top of each other without them falling down. And if they're able to do that, then their partner is released from their cage, and then they're no longer at risk for elimination. And Rob finishes first, period. And then Steven finishes next, and then Monet finishes, and then Tiffany finishes. So then all their partners are released. And what was funny was that when Tiffany finished and Michael was released from the cage, she went to go jump on him and hug him. But then I think Michael wanted to give her a regular hug, and he let her fall to the ground, y'all. It was so awkward. And honestly, what woman in her right mind would want to jump into Michael Rappaport's arms? That is so fucking gross. Like, I can't even picture it. I can't picture a woman jumping into Rappaport's arms. And Tiffany attempted to do that. And he didn't even catch her. He let her fall on the ground, y'all. So embarrassing. And what makes it even more embarrassing is that she she said something about she said something that she wants to be she's glad that she's coupled up with a man like a big I hope a big strong man. She Michael Rappaport, a big strong man, he's big, but where's the strong at? So before the challenge, she said, I'm glad to be coupled up with a big strong man that can save me. Where is that? Which big strong man is she talking about? And then at the challenge, because of the way the challenge was, technically Michael did put himself at risk for her, because whoever was in the cage was at risk for being eliminated. Whoever was outside of the cage was going to be safe no matter what. So technically he did take a risk for her by being in the cage, but she was the one who ended up saving him from being eliminated. And then she tried to jump into his arms to celebrate, and she fell on her butt. Oh my god, girl. It gave me it just made me feel so gross. The fact that the part that made it feel gross was the fact that she even wanted to jump into his arms in the first place. That's disgusting. Michael is gross, and he gives me incel vibes. Because has he ever even been married? Like, what woman would be interested in being in a relationship or anything romantic or physical with Michael? Like, he, even his behavior too. His behavior gives incel. Like, he's one of those guys. Like, I don't know if you've seen him on like any of his like on social media lately, or like some of his viral moments. Like, he's always in women's business. Like, he gives incel, and I think Tiffany is male centered. And I'm sorry, girl. That was embarrassing for you. I'm embarrassed for you for that. And you're male centered. And then Colton thinks she's a traitor too, because she's been cozying up to Michael. And her logic for cozying up to Michael, right, is that she thinks Michael is a traitor. So she's trying to be on Michael's good side. She wants to get close to Michael because she thinks he's a traitor. And if she's close to him and she's like an ally to him, that he won't eliminate her. Which the logic makes sense, but she's doing too much. Like, that logic makes sense. You can be cool with someone and build a rapport with someone without letting everyone see like this person is your bestie. Like, she's doing too much. Just like how she was doing too much when Ian got eliminated, she's doing too much with Michael. And I think she's a man. I think she's male centered. Um, and now Colton is looking at her funny too, because a lot of people still think Michael is a traitor, and you're trying to be besties and all over Michael. People gonna think you're a traitor too, like, because you're doing too much. And Colton is like the most influential faithful, because he led the he led the vote against Donna, and people trust him. And yeah, yeah, girl, you're shooting yourself in the foot, man. You're shooting yourself in the foot. Um, okay, so then after the mission, it's time for our trio of traitors to meet in the dungeon, and Rob and Candace are in the dungeon first, and they take off their hoods, and then Rob goes, "Girl," and then Candace goes, "Girl." I was dying. Not Rob and Candace having a little kiki in the dungeon, and the fact that Rob was the one who said "girl" first had me dying. And then Lisa joins Rob and Candace in the dungeon to discuss who to eliminate after the mission. And the people who are up for elimination were Caroline, Ron, Eric, and Kristen. And they were kind of deliberating about what they would do. And Rob is thinking to get rid of Eric or Kristen because they're the smartest out of the four. And it would be good to keep Ron because people think Ron is a traitor. And Caroline is a non-factor, but it might be good to eliminate Caroline because she's a housewife. And so far, they've eliminated 2 gamers. So it might make sense to now eliminate a housewife, because if only gamers are getting eliminated, everyone immediately is going to think a housewife is eliminating all the gamers, and that would put a target on Candace's and Lisa's backs. That's where episode 3 ends. So next week we have to find out who they actually eliminate. And then in the previews for next week, it shows that both Colton and Jam Jam are teaming up and targeting Tiffany as a traitor. Like I said, she been acting weird, and the people in the castle are seeing that. So you in danger, girl. You in danger. But yeah, that's the end of my review of the first 3 episodes, and I'm liking it so far. And I am surprised that it seems like I am a fan of Rob from Love Island. I never thought this day would ever come. And I hope he doesn't piss me off later in the season. But the first 3 episodes, he's checking off all the boxes. He's doing all the right things. He's making all the right moves. Candace is doing a good job helping him. She did a good job being the distraction. And then Lisa, I feel like she's just riding their coattails, to be honest. But Lisa's a good soldier. Lisa's a good soldier, so no hate to her. But I don't know. It's a fun, lighthearted show. So I don't know. What do you think, guys think about this show? What do you think about Rob or Candace or Lisa or any of the other castmates? So I will be continuing to review each episode. So this is like a little fun kiki, but oh my God. The highlight of episode 3 was Rob and Candace having that little kiki, and that face that Rob made. That's going to be a meme for sure. That's going to be a meme. You've made it to the end of my review, so please like the video. It helps more people to see my channel. Thanks for listening. This is Soft and Spicy. Bye.